The $1 Million Listing cast just took another massive hit, losing two of its most likable cast members who have been huge parts of this hit TV show for the past 9 years now. We're talking about the British business partners James Harris and David Parnes, who moved to the United States to start their real estate business back in 2009, but shortly after that they got picked up for the reality TV show $1 Million Listing. On top of their success in the spotlight on $1 Million Listing, James and David have now sold over $5 billion worth of real estate over the course of their careers as agents. This news comes as a bit of a shock for anybody who's a big fan of the series because these two have kind of been a staple on the show for a while now. I guess all good things do come to an end though, and this is just another example of that in the real estate scene. In today's episode, we are going to dive into the bios of these power brokers out in Los Angeles, California. We'll talk about some of the most impressive properties and mega mansions that they have been involved in, both as buyer's agents and as seller's agents. And last, we'll get into some fun stories and life lessons that these two shared in a recent interview that they did with Cottage and Gardens. We've talked about the $1 Million Listing series here on the channel before, so I'm not going to get too into it today. The gist of it is that there are two real estate themed reality TV shows on Bravo TV. One of them is called $1 Million Listing New York, which follows around a bunch of real estate agents in New York and kind of showcases a day in the life of a New York agent. Then the other series is called $1 Million Listing LA, which does the same thing, but with LA real estate instead, so same concept, but very different in terms of the properties that they show. The guys that we're talking about today are James and David, who grew up as childhood friends in London, but they moved out to Los Angeles together in 2009 to start a business in real estate. When James and David got the call to join $1 Million Listing, the show was already in their 7th season, but they quickly became staples in the show with their quirky personalities and focus on selling homes in places like Bel Air, Beverly Hills, the Hollywood Hills, Brentwood, Malibu, and the Pacific Palisades. It's kind of hard confirming exactly how much money these guys are making by being on this reality TV show, but most sources say that the agents on the show are making about $10,000 per episode, and with most seasons running 12 episodes long, that means that these cast members are bringing in around $120,000 per season just to have cameras follow them around and document their lives. $120,000 per year for this kind of work doesn't sound all that bad, but this income pales in comparison to the commissions that they're making as real estate agents, and something tells me that that's part of the reason why some of the cast members are now choosing to leave the TV show. Now, James and David both have super impressive resumes. Like I said earlier, they've done over $5 billion in real estate deals over the course of their careers. Let's just do some math on that really quick before we look at some of the houses that these guys have sold. So we know that the average commissions on any real estate deal are about 6%, with 3% that goes to the buyer's agent and then another 3% that goes to the seller's agent. That 3% on either side also technically needs to get split with the broker that the agent works for, which in the case of James and David is a company called The Agency. All that being said means that the real estate agent who's representing either the buyer or the seller walks away with about 1.5% of the total sales price for their own personal commission on the deal. So that's where the math comes in. If these guys have $5 billion worth of total sales over the course of their careers, let's plug that in here really quick. My calculator doesn't even go to 5 billion that way. I guess I have to put it sideways. Okay, $5 billion. We got to take 1.5% of that. There you go, guys. These two have made $75 million in real estate commissions over their careers. Now let's divide that by 2 because these are two agents. They are business partners, so they split that. That means they've made $37,500,000 each, and that happened over the course of the past 12 years since they've been agents. So let's divide that by 12, and their average commissions per year has been over $3 million since these guys got started. Insane. Anyways, being on the show, I'm sure it came with its own benefits of getting their names and brands out there, which ended up leading to more clients, which ultimately led to more commissions. Let's flip through this listing section of their profile page on the agency's website under their bio. They have a ton of high ticket listings, both active right now and having sold. So if we just look at these active listings, so first they've got this place at 1380 Mockingbird for $48 million. Really awesome place. Clearly a ton of privacy here, super lush landscaping. It's a pretty cool looking house. Their description says it's perched high above the city on one of the largest promontories in the Bird Streets. We all know the Bird Streets are where you get some of the most exclusive real estate in LA. And what's interesting about this listing is they're saying it provides 2 residential opportunities. So the house that we see here now is a 14,000 square foot modern villa. So it's got all the views and 6 ensuite bedrooms. It's got a 2,500 square foot primary suite. It's got a large motor court, a 4-car garage, pretty good amenities. But alternatively, the purchase also includes approved permits and plans, which is for a 30,000 square foot new build house to go in this house's place. Anyways, next one up on the list here, they've got one at 9344 Nightingale Drive. This one they're asking about $28 million for. It's got 6 bedrooms and 8 bathrooms. I love the way that this house looks. It's just architecturally super cool. The description says it captures extraordinary views across Los Angeles to the Pacific Ocean. This is another one in the bird streets, just like the last one. There's a ton of the best materials out there for a modern home, which are steel, wood, glass, and stone. It's got a double height foyer, floor to ceiling windows, a bunch of water features, and then of course large terraces, motorized pocket doors, wine storage, a gym, a sauna, a steam room, a massage room, things like that. Next, let's scroll down to the sold section of their page to take a look at some of the listings that these guys have recently actually closed. The first one on the list here at 594 Mapleton is one that some of you guys might recognize. This one's called The Manor, and they sold this place for $160 million. There's not much for photos here, probably for privacy reasons, but the house has 14 bedrooms, 27 total bathrooms, and over 56,000 square feet of living space. They call it one of the largest and grandest private residences in Los Angeles. It was originally built by entertainment royalty Aaron and Candy Spelling, and this house is sitting on nearly 5 acres of flat land. Going back here, here's another big one at 900 Serdea Road for $45 million. Unfortunately, this one also only has a cover photo. They're not showcasing the inside anymore, but this house has 5 bedrooms, 9 total bathrooms, and 14,000 square feet of living space. Even though it looks like a hillside lot, it's actually sitting on close to 1 acre, which is pretty impressive. And this one's really private. It's secluded from the street with a gated, really long driveway approach. Let's check out one more of the sold properties here. This one is at 8408 Hillside Avenue. So this place they sold for $44 million. It's got 5 bedrooms, 9 bathrooms, and 20,000 square feet of living space. They called this one of the most significant homes ever to be built in the Hollywood Hills. That's a pretty bold statement. And there's some cool fire features and water features in this house. It's got a 12-foot internal cascading waterfall. And then of course stuff like an executive office, showroom quality kitchen, butler's kitchen, art theater, game room, and car showroom. So pretty impressive resume there, both on the active and the sold front. And it turns out it looks like both James and David are business partners on every deal that they do out there in California, because I compared their 2 profiles and they're identical. That interview that these guys did with Cottage Gardens a few weeks back was pretty fun and a little bit inspirational, so let's dive into some of their responses next. When they were asked about how they met and decided to start their team, they started by talking about what we already went over, but then they shared that when they arrived in Los Angeles, they actually had no contacts whatsoever, but they were just determined to become agents working in the luxury real estate market. I feel like nowadays it would be a little bit harder to break into the luxury market in LA compared to back in 2009, but still really impressive that these guys moved into the United States with no contacts whatsoever. They set a huge dream, they went for that dream, and 10 years later, they accomplished it. Next, they were questioned about whether or not they ever saw themselves as reality TV stars, and James started by saying that early on, of course, they never saw themselves as future TV stars, and he shared a story that when they first got started in their careers as agents, in order to drum up business, they would literally play rock, paper, scissors in their cars before walking up to random houses in Beverly Hills and knocking on homeowners' doors looking for houses for sale. David responded to that same question by just complimenting the $1 Million Listing franchise. He says the cast and the crew were all very respectful to the fast-paced, high-end real estate environment. I'd imagine that that would be pretty nerve-wracking, being a reality TV star with cameras following you around and being a luxury real estate agent. A lot of these luxury clients are probably pretty private people who really don't want a bunch of cameras in their business, especially when they're shopping for their dream home. So pretty cool to hear that the film crew was respectful to that process. When they were asked about the state of the Los Angeles luxury market, David says that there is still actually a big shortage of supply to keep up with the demand. And he said that last year, LA saw 20 sales over $50 million, which is pretty insane. James said that buyers in Bel Air, Beverly Hills, and Holmby Hills are nowadays actually more local buyers looking for primary residences as opposed to international buyers, which is what you more often see with these luxury homes in LA. We've tracked a lot of these mega mansion spec builds out in LA in the past, and it turns out a lot of the time those houses don't sell for as much as they were originally asking for, and they sit on the market a lot longer than expected. But it turns out that these more regular $50 million homes are selling like hotcakes. Interesting. Last, they were asked about celebrity clients buying in California, and specifically what celebrity clients care about the most when hiring David and James as agents. David said that views are number one, and you cannot put a price on views. These buyers want the interior to seamlessly extend to the exterior, overlooking the swimming pool and views. And hey, I think that views would be on the top of my list too if I was a celebrity buyer in LA. James said that privacy is a key, and that celebrities are willing to pay a premium for absolute privacy that gives them security and a break from the paparazzis. With James and David leaving the $1 Million Listing franchise, and that other cast member Fredrik announcing he was leaving as well a month or two back, it's hard telling if we'll get another season of this show. At this point, the cast has been fizzled down to just a couple of people, and for a show like this to succeed, you really need a variety with the cast to keep it interesting. Maybe Bravo will find some other power agents out there to fill the void, but in my opinion, it's going to be really tough to fill the shoes of James and David. If you enjoyed the episode today, guys, hit that thumbs up button down below or leave a comment. Doing that really helps to support my channel. And remember to click subscribe as well if you're not already a subscriber, because I'm putting new videos out every week. But that's all I've got for you guys this time. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, see ya.